So you can see in the water here, you can see eddies. You can see where ripples in the water after a torpedo could come and hit a ship, then the shock wave would go back out, and just like you had thrown a rock in the water and you see the ripples come away from that, that's the same exact thing going on there. And so they were slowly attacking all of the battleship. The battleship Arizona was the one in the lower left corner there, had not yet been hit. That was too early in the raid. Anyway, so that just showed what was going on there. And here's another picture of that. And you can see in the water space between the backside, right in there, you can see an airplane right there. Right there, right in there, there's an airplane. There's a Japanese airplane. He has dropped his torpedo, and when he was coming in this direction, and as soon as he drops a torpedo, he just pulled the airplane back up this way and flew backward, and that's what you're seeing that airplane doing. He's pulling up out of the run that he was using to drop the torpedo. So these are Japanese airplanes. They're not American. Japanese photos, not American photos. The Japanese took care of that. Well, in any case, there was one of the most spectacular ships to be hit was the USS Shaw. That was a destroyer, and they say even to today that during the Second World War they considered that one of the most powerful photographs taken of the entire Second War, all the places. This thing, and I have that in color, and it's spectacular. Poor, bad news. They dropped a bomb there, and it went right below deck of that destroyer and hit the magazine, or where they save all of their ammunition, and the whole thing went up in smoke. And so about that time, I thought, well, I got this box Brownie camera that I got for my birthday, my 12th birthday, and I was just itching to just take a photograph of anything. Of course, and didn't have the discussion with my parents. And so there was a lull where the bombing and where the airplanes, that one row of airplanes finished bombing, and a new row of airplanes was going to come in a moment later. So I thought, well, this was a moment of silence. I grabbed that Brownie camera, box Brownie camera, went outside to my side yard, right there, that side yard right there, and I was hunting for anything to take a picture of. And I saw this big black smoke over there coming from Pearl Harbor, and I did not know at the time that was the explosion of the Arizona. So I took that picture, and about that time, and I'll be permitted, I'm sure, to sell it, that there was a soldier behind a tree there, and all he said was, "Hey kid, get the hell back in the house," which I did. And I also didn't tell my parents. So, in any case, that was my one shot of fame as a World War II photographer. Meanwhile, here's an interesting photograph stay on this for just a second, if you will. Before the war started, the British, our allies, were the ones who invented radar. They were the first one, and they had some experimental models of their radar that they were using as the Germans were flying over to Britain and bombing London and all that business over there. So what they did is they gave the U.S. several copies of their radar, their experimental radar, and one of those radar units was sitting at the northern peak of Oahu Island. And it turns out, I'll make this story real short, it turns out that they didn't discover until later that the soldiers practicing on the radar actually picked up the Japanese armada of airplanes 30 minutes before they did arrive. And so they called down and told headquarters that they had a blip on the radar, the experimental radar, and said, don't worry about it, it's just some airplanes coming from the West Coast, which were true. But that's them, and they never paid another attention to it. Of course, we would have had 40 minutes advance notice of bombing Pearl Harbor if they had taken heed of that warning. So so these airplanes then, they were trying to get to West Coast, to Hawaii, to Hickam Field, And most of them got damaged by the Japanese coming in there and shooting at them and stuff like that. So that most of the B-17s were brand new airplanes that didn't make it. Most of them crashed. Go to the next slide. You can go to the, yeah, right. Yeah, this story I got to take for just a second. This is the last just minute I have. My dad was very concerned about where the family was. We were inside our house, and he had us on the floor in the long hallway, which from the front of our house back to where our bedrooms were. So he had us go into this large hall closet. And so a few minutes later, my dad said, I have a funny feeling about this. I don't think we ought to be closed off in this closet. And so let's get back out and lay on the hallway floor again. And it wasn't more than about 4 or 5 minutes later, there was this tremendous explosion right outside our house. And chandeliers fell out from the ceiling. The dishes out of the kitchen cabinet fell onto the floor and everything like that. And at that point, he says, we're going to have to find a way to get out of here. And what he had done is he had told us to get back out of the hallway closet because it was too enclosed. So we were laying on the hallway floor, and then shortly thereafter the house shuddered. We didn't know right away why, but later on we discovered that we took a bomb hit right in the side yard. And it turned out that was I made it that later on, that crater was 9 feet from our house. And so when that happened, he says, we've got to find a way to get out of here. So another lull took place, and so he says, okay, the next lull, we're going to get in our car. He had purchased a 1941 Buick. You know, they were hard as rock. You couldn't bend that saved our lives in just a couple of seconds. So he assigned each of my 2 sisters and myself and my mom and dad positions in the 1941 Buick that he had bought when he came over from Hawaii. That was his life's dream on the 1941 Buick. And they were solid as a rock. And so he told everybody where to go. My position was going to be on the floor of the back seats. And then there were 5 of us in our family. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the family. Well, the family became one more later on. Anyway, so we had instructions. I was to go there, they were to go there, you go there, and so forth. Mine was to lay on the floor of the back seat of that 4-door Buick, and then all we would go to try to get off the place. And so it turned out that they called a next door neighbor, just a husband and wife without children. We're going to do this. You want to go with us? We got room. Yeah, so they were in and they did it. But little did I know that they were going to bring their dog, which proceeded to sit on top of me on the floor. You heard the dog's life before. So anyway, so we took off and to get off the base. And I think I don't know if there's another graphic here or not after this one. Yeah, well, that's just another picture of it. And that's a tent city where they were housing newly arrived soldiers over there. And our guess was they weren't trying to hit our house. They were trying to bomb that next door, and they just missed. And after that, what's after that? Yeah, right there. The lower left corner, you see that curved road over there. And above it, those angled lines up there, those are sideways streets, and that's where our housing was, over here to the left. Yeah, that area right there. That was a housing area, and that's where we lived. So what my dad was as soon as there was another lull, we'd jump into the car according to our instructions, and he would take that curved road, and right at the end of that curved road, that's the gate to get off the base. And so while we were on that road, there was a backup of traffic, and if you can get around that first curve there, and right on the first curve, up there, up, right in there. We were just a little bit north of there, and there were a lot of trucks in front of us with bleeding soldiers and stuff like that. So we were stuck there for a minute, and lo and behold, here came a couple of 3 Japanese Zeros, and they were coming along behind strafing. A lot of younger people don't know what strafing means. That means you use machine guns on your airplane and shoot at things on the ground. And that was strafing. And it was done. The Allies did a lot of strafing of German trains during Europe during the Second World War. That's what it was. So here's some Japanese pilots, and they were coming along, shooting along the line of cars. And lo and behold, we were sitting right there, and we were stopped for just a minute in the traffic, and all of a sudden across the top of the car from the back right rear, that wasn't back right rear, the right rear to the left front, right over my dad's head, we took some bullets from the Zero that came along strafing. Strafing is a term a lot of younger people don't know. That's flying along and shooting something along the ground. You know, moving along like shooting along a train. That's called strafing. It was done in World War II. And so what they were doing is they were strafing all the cars trying to get off. And the truck right in front of us was some wounded soldiers, and one had a bloody leg hanging out the back end of the truck. I'll tell you what, even at age 12, you do not forget it. So anyway, so we were going along, and all of a sudden, the right rear to the front left, zing, 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 zing. And so we weren't quite sure what that was, but we thought something happened. So when we got into Honolulu to some friends of my parents, and we were trying to get off the base. And so anyway, we got in there, and our friend says, "Have you seen top of your car lately?" We looked up there, and there were 7 bullet dents. I mean, deep, like teaspoon dents from the right rear to the left front, right over my dad's head. And so we realized then, in retrospect, what had happened. We had been strafed by the Japanese airplanes coming off of that road there. And I will say it real quick, when my family, minus my dad, we went on to the South Pacific, when we got back to Galveston, Texas, which was our previous place of living, we had people knocking on our door for at least 4 or 5 months. Do you mind if we look at your car? And it became, in Galveston, Texas, that became a matinee story for people to come and see us. They wouldn't stop and say anything to us, primarily, but they wanted to hear about it. They wanted to see that. So anyway, that was the one near miss that we had. Beyond that, I don't know where we are. This is quickly. I think I'm talking too long. Why don't we flip through and see what else we have there, and then. Yeah, that was just a quick picture. When we finally got off the base, like I described, in one piece, that was the Arizona still burning. And way to the left over there, you see a little white thing sticking up above. Up above, right there is that's about 2 or 3 blocks from where we were living, toward Pearl Harbor. So that gives you a quick look. And some of these photographs were from Life magazine back in 1942. Okay, and that's just more, you're going to have to go. Well, me?
I'm going to come up here and say to all of these people who have heard this, that they are very honored to hear a first-hand report. Boys and girls, this is stuff that when they tell you it's a first-hand report, there's not many of these still left able to do this for us. And I know Mrs. Long has this gentleman coming to do more of this for our 5th and 6th grade, and I have a feeling there'll be others who want to hear this whole story.
If you can tell, I have to get long-winded because I'm trying to cut short a lot of details.
Well, we love the fact that you were willing to come join us for this, and I hope that you will be able to be out front there as we leave for other people to be talking to you. That would be all right. right?
Yes. Can you give me 30 seconds?
All right.
There's one